Hi fellow headaches! So today I would like to teach you how to use TimePicker and DatePicker. So let's create a Time and DatePicker project. Let's open the main layout file and let's add two buttons. So one button for TimePicker and one for DatePicker. So let's copy the first one and let's create the second button. Let's also add an ID. Later, we'll connect this to the code. So now, let's select the two buttons and let's use a chain helper that will create vertical chain. And we will use the constraints to center it. Now let's create a time fragment dialog. This class will show the time picker, and we also implements the time picker on time set listener. So we will also override the onCreate dialog, and we will make an instance of calendar, and let's get the hour and then the minute, and let's return the time picker dialog. Let's pass the context in the listener, this, then the calendar hour, minute, and then for is 24-hour view, let's set this to false, and that's it. Now let's create an on-click method for time picker. Right click and create the method. So the layout's now connected. So let's call the dialog fragment new time picker fragment, then that show, and let's pass the get support fragment, and let's name this using the class name test. Now it shows us this picker. If we click OK, then there's nothing happen. So we'll add a text here. First, let's add text. Let's add a constraint. Let's also add sample text here. Let's copy the ID so that we can link this the code. Let's implement the text view here for the time and the date. Firstly, implement the time. Let's connect the layout here. So the ID is text view time. And then like also to implement an interface for the time picker so that we can get the onset value. Let's name this on time set string time. Also for date, we'll create an interface on date set. So we'll pass this interface here. Let's implement it, the methods, and here we will create a constructor so that we can pass that interface here. So time interface listener, and we create a copy here locally, and then let's pass the parameters, and here we can now call the on time set and pass the time. Let's pass the hour of the day and also pass the minute. So just for the recap, we passed the time interface here, going to the time picker fragment, and then we have on time set, and so every time the user clicks time, on time set here will be called, and as well as our listener, and the data will be received going to the main activity. So now let's set the text to the text view time. Let's pass the time string. So let's test now. As you can see, there's no value yet, but if user opens timer and select time, okay, then you can see the value being passed. Let's test again. Now let's implement that for the date picker. Let's constraint. Let's copy this ID so that we can connect to the text view date. Let's copy this function and modify it later. Now let's create a date picker fragment. Let's extend this to dialog fragment and then implements on date set listener. Now let's override the onCreate dialog. Also need to get the instance of the calendar. Need to get the year, the month, and the day. Now let's return the date picker dialog and pass the context, the listener, and the data. Let's create also a constructor for our interface or the listener, and create the variable locally. It's actually the same as the time picker. Now let's call the date picker fragment and let's change the interface to the date interface. Okay, now we will set the text for the date. Set the text and pass the date string. Okay, we'll call this from the button, date picker button. On click. Okay, so let's test. As you can see, if you click this, it will show the date picker now. As you notice, there's no AM and PM. So let's add that to our time picker fragment. So let's put this calendar on top so that we can access on the on time set function. Let's get the hour, also the minute. Then let's add a simple date format. STF equals new simple date format. And this is the trick. This is the format HH, MM, then the AM and PM format. Now it's SDF dot format, and we will supply the time. So C dot get time. So that's it. So let's test one more time. And now if you select say AM, now it will appear AM. And let's select PM, now it shows PM. Thank you so much, fellow headaches, for watching. I hope you loved the video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell button so you will be updated. Thank you.